So it started there. And then by nature of not judging oneself, how could we possibly judge someone else?
Yeah.
Right? And if we can create an ecosystem of people who are operating under that premise, what value can we really bring to the world?
100%. This is why I love you.
Get ready for the real estate show that takes you across the barriers and into the danger zone. That Bitchin' Real Estate Podcast with your host, Tenacious T.
Also why I formed a lot of my business around that concept by watching you. I saw your agents posting exactly their personalities, who they are, what they're into. It wasn't about, oh gosh, I got my hair done for $400 today. It was about, I connected with this person and I was able to do this amazing job with them because I understood them and I connected with them. I'm a girl who wears leather jackets and drives a Mustang no matter what level I'm at. And I felt confident, especially again after that panel when I saw that a gentleman that's really only been licensed for, at the time, for about 4 years, opened his entire own brokerage in his own way. And it made me say, I'm going to f***ing do that too someday.
I love it.
I'm not going to open a brokerage, but
Yeah.
but that embodiment and how you encourage your agents, and when I see you on a panel, that's never wavered with you, never wavered. Tell me about the emotional intelligence coaching that a lot of your agents are talking about, and also that calm space. I know you've explored some breath work and different things spiritually with you. Dying to hear about that. It's the enlightened entrepreneur for 2020.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I mean, my thing is what I do regularly through journaling. I send an email every single day to the brokerage. That's a fairly long-winded, heartfelt email. The email is my life lesson from the day before. That's the email that I send to the brokerage every day. So what it does is it keeps me always learning, and I'm constantly journaling. And the two things that I'm doing are I'm identifying what it is that I feel that I'm doing really well, and how can I refine and do that even better? How can I squeeze more juice from the grape, so to speak? And then the second thing is I'm constantly assessing what are my deficiencies. And the two things that I'll do with deficiencies is I'll either work to get better at some of them, or I'll leverage talent. I'll hire people much better than me at those things to be able to do it. And so what I can do by nature of just wanting to be the best human I can be every day is then share that information with people in the form of coaching and mentorship. And as soon as we can realize that outside of the plastic bubble that people generally create in today's cultural environment by way of social media is probably the fastest path to a fake bubble or plastic
either
bubble.
your downfall or your
That's right.
ascension.
But it just creates that thing where we're constantly judging ourselves, is this thing of really working to understand each individual's something. Everybody's got something going on in their personal life that's challenging them from getting what they want out of this life. So it's really a customized approach to that. So we've organized a group of leadership within the brokerage called the Tribe that have gone through, emotional intelligence training with us that the group at the brokerage can access to, because I can't be all things to everybody. Right. And then by way of these emails every single morning, that's my way of being vulnerable with our culture, with our people, and saying, hey, I made this mistake yesterday, or here's something I've been challenged by, or last night I was feeling this, my email this morning was said, don't do it, was the subject line. And it was that I was filling my car with gas last night at 8 o'clock in an interesting part of town. And I pulled in, I put my credit card in, I filled up my tank. And I was thinking about, like, man, it's pretty cool. This credit card I'm using is a business credit card. I get cash back. I actually get to offset some of my income with expenses. And I'm going through this whole thing in my head. And a guy pulls up and grabs a gallon milk jug, walks in, gives all the coins to the guy on the counter, fills up his gallon milk jug with gas. And it reminded me of how much I've taken for granted that I can fill up my car every single time I have to fill up my car with gas. And I remember the days where I used to scrounge change out of my car to make sure I could get enough gas to get home, not knowing how I was going to get to the gas station the next day. Right. And that was my email to the company. for people who have a perception of me that I'm the big rich guy in the sky and like it'd be great to run a great real estate business, but I can never do it like Brian, me being able to share a story like that with them via email gives them a social or an emotional connection to me that I otherwise couldn't get unless I sat knee to knee. So it can be everything from these daily emails to coaching the tribe to I now have built in a daily routine of meditation. I've been working with a meditation coach, Al Fuentes. I always have to tell anybody interested, check out.
Say that one more time so I make sure and get that in the podcast when I edit.
Yeah, Al Fuentes is his name. It's alfuentes.com. Fuentes. He's a great friend of mine. He's been a coach of mine for 9 years now. And then my business coach, Zanzibar Vermiglio is his name. And Zanzibar is a business coach not specific to real estate, but also plays the game. He was a Landmark coach, so if you're familiar with Landmark, you would understand his philosophical approach to human interaction, which is highly EQ driven.
Yeah.
So again, I really just have been highly selective about surrounding myself with people who are driven by high emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
I believe that we can write plans and goals and make action plans, but without EQ, we end up trampling people along the way. I'm just not interested in doing that.
One of the big movements that I have felt and I have seen in the past year is exactly that. I mean, it doesn't matter what our past is. It doesn't matter what we've been through. It's how we've come through it. That's a big slogan of mine. It is not what we go through. It is how we come through it. And like you said, you didn't have the easiest childhood. Yeah. I didn't have the easiest childhood. You know, when I got into this business, very similar to you, we were struggling, and I got into it only because I needed to change my family's life. And I've never forgotten that either. You are teaching people that it doesn't matter where they come from. It matters what's here in your heart. And when you're serving your purpose serves you. What you have now is a result of you giving a shit, of you forming a business with your heart, not with your head.
That's right.
And that's what's paying off. Yeah. And for me, that's all I see. I think it's amazing that you're able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, but you are still working your ass off.
Like
hours and hours and hours of work. You've made room for your family, though. I've seen so many beautiful posts with your boys. Tell me more about that. When did you decide to flick that switch and be like, I need more time with them?
Always. But reality is harder sometimes. You know, it's harder in practice than it is in reality. Remember, I have a lot of, I had a lot of fear around failure and a lot of fear around this thing of being broke. I mean, my work with my meditation coach, Al, started around fear of broke.
Yeah.
I mean, it was debilitating for me to the point that I spent no time with anybody. I gave away all friendships. I gave away my health.
Yeah.
I gave away, once I learned that there was really an unlimited, uncapped potential, I became obsessed, really, to a detriment in all parts of my life. And then it was a consistent reeling back of that to try and figure out how can I leverage, how do I get to have both? Right. For me, it was this thing of work-life balance, like how can I have everything I want, business, financially, and have all of this at the same time? I don't have to give up or sacrifice one to have the other.
Yeah.
And it was an evolution. It's still an evolution to this day. I woke up this morning, my business partner, Stephanie, called me. How you doing this morning? I'm like, I'm doing good, but I got to tell you, I woke up this morning feeling tired as if it was Friday afternoon. And she's like, well, Brian, you work 7 days a week. You don't ever stop. I don't ever stop.
Yeah.
And so it's that thing for me where it's really about calendaring set time with those that are important to you. But along the way, what I have to share with you is I was notorious for spreading myself thin. I said yes to everything. I was yes to every client party, yes to every opportunity to do an open house, yes to every opportunity to prospect, yes to every podcast, yes to every panel. It was yes to everything. And it was yes to all my friends. And I had a lot of friends in my life who didn't support where I was going in my life. And I had to make really hard decisions and I had to learn how to say no.
Yes.
I heard a quote a few years ago from Steve Jobs. They asked Steve Jobs, what is the thing you're most proud of? And he said, all the things I said no to.
Yes.
And that was a big one for me that was like, wow, I've really got to start saying no. I've said yes to too many things. And when I started saying no, it started freeing up time for those things that were really meaningful to me, and gave me an opportunity to enjoy those other things.
It feels good to say no. There's a little bit of a guilt that happens to me. But then I realize when I've said no to put aside the things that aren't fulfilling the purpose, right? One of the most important things that I've learned in this business is we have a vision and we're so driven with our vision and we want that vision. And I feel like I've been very distracted by fulfilling what my vision needs to be and how to build it.
Yep.
And I'm still building. You're obviously still building.
Never stop.
But it's the guilt of setting it aside to be with my family. I definitely want to be with my family, but I'm still building. What do you take with that? How do you take that guilt and what do you do with it?
Well, I learned this. You said it. I used to say shame a lot, and in working with a therapist recently, she helped me understand the difference between shame and guilt. Shame is that there's something wrong with you, and guilt is that you've done something wrong. Right. So first thing, I had to work out of shame. I thought there was something wrong with me, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm obsessed with work and like, this is just what I want to do. And then what I did was I would shame other people in my life for giving me a hard time about the things that I was in love with. So it was like, no, there's something wrong with you. Like, can't you see this is good for everybody that I'm doing this thing that I'm doing? And I was,
Can't you see my vision, damn it?
That's right. Right.
Yes.
So then once I figured that, I reduced that to some level of guilt. Yeah. And then the thing is, what do you do with that? Once you realize that you've done something wrong, now it's up to you to what you do with it to fix it. And so for me, what I started doing was just cutting out the things out of my life that weren't meaningful. That was it. It was a trade, right? If in fact this is important and I feel guilty about it, trade out that which is not important to trade in which is. Pretty simple, right? I mean,
kind of comes down to that no thing. You're saying no to this project so that you have the time for this project.
That's
or
right.
The family.
Anything. I mean, I'll tell you, one is I've consistently started waking up earlier, right? Why? Because I was complaining that everybody else was getting my time and I had no time for myself. So I had to find time for myself. Where was I going to find that time? Not after 6:30 a.m. and not before 9 p.m., right? So for me, I started finding it at 4:30 in the morning, right? People like 4:30 in the morning, I'm not a morning person. I was like, I used to say that bullshit too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a morning person either until I became a morning person. Well, how did you do that? And then there was a whole regimen to doing that so that I could offset that time with the things that needed my attention more importantly than whatever it might be.
I will tell you, I'm not a morning person either, but I'm a 5 a.m. riser. I don't talk to anyone at 5 a.m.,
right.
but that is my time. I'm with my dogs. I'm drinking my coffee. I'm listening to, it could be different soul path, spiritual meditations. But yes, that is a commonality with any truly successful entrepreneur that I've done research on, that I've had on the show. They take that time first thing and they center their thoughts for themselves because they know who they are. They know what their vision is. They know where they need to go. They take that time in the morning so that they can focus on that task.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, it's wake up and I have my whole morning regimen, but the first one is a glass of water and the second one's my meditation. Those are the first two things I do in the morning.
I love it.
Yeah.
You know, I have some famous questions that I would like to bring in. The beautiful Ashley Miller.
Oh, look at that. I love it. This is where everyone, they push the button
Surrounded by
and
beautiful
they go,
women, yes.
yeah, awesome.
All right.
What's up, Ash?
Hi.
Long time no see, at least with microphones in our
I
face.
know.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Our Ashley Miller is back in the title game with Great American Title. Please, a little introduction real quick, and then we'll get into the famous questions.
Well, Ashley Miller with Great American Title.
There you go.
That's awesome.
So, are you familiar with the little questions that I ask? You're
No,
probably not. You
I'm
probably
not.
have had no.
No,
I'm
let's
excited
go.
to hear his
We'll say
answers.
that you've been so busy you haven't been able to watch one of my
Great.
podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I took the questions from In the Actors Studio, the old one, and I tweaked them a little bit to fit real estate.
Okay.
So thinking of a description, it's probably been a while. I don't know. You probably still write a few of your own descriptions, I would think, if you're going to
Every
list
once in a while I
something.
do. Yeah, every once in a while I do.
So you're filling in your description, or maybe you're reading a description. What is your favorite descriptive word in the MLS?
Favorite descriptive word in the MLS? Favorite one word. Is this a word that I want to make fun of, or is this a word that I
No,
like?
like you really like, oh, that is a good word. I'm going to use that, or you have been using because you really like it.
Well, I like using the term owner's suite instead of master bedroom.
That is nice.
So there's one for you.
The owner's suite. Ashley, what do you think about the owner's suite?
I like
I
that.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's put that on the list of. See, we're taking all of these and we're
I
going to
like
give them
it.
to all our
Perfect.
agents.
Yeah. It's always, again, it's little things to offer some level of differentiation.
There you go.
Owner's suite. There
Owner's
you go.
suite.
Yep. And
Okay.
I stole that out of an article about 5 or 6 years ago, so
We're all
I can't
stealing.
take credit for it. Yeah.
I've stole a lot of your ideas and those Callaways and Russell
You
Shaw.
didn't steal them because I'm giving them away, girl. I want anybody who needs me, anybody watching,
There you
call
go.
me.
That's why we love
I'll
you.
give it all away.
That's why we love you. So again, thinking of a description,
Yep.
what is your least favorite word?
Boasts. That is my least favorite word. You see how easy that was? There you go. Yep.
Boasts. We boast about our
Boasts
bathroom.
in entertainer's backyard. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not
There
a
you
fan
go.
of
Boasts.
that one. It
is
feels
my
a little
least favorite.
awkward as well.
It's just, it doesn't flow.
Yeah,
Yes.
boasts. I'm not a very boasty guy.
No,
You know what
you're
I mean?
not.
So,
Unless you're
boast
on the
is-
slopes.
Unless I'm on the slopes.
Yes.
I'm very quiet though. I let my boasting happen, under my feet.
Visually.
so, yeah.
Visually.
Yeah.
And real quick, this is a squirrel segue moment. So I took a year to be a ski bum at 19 years old, like I think before you were born, a basin in Colorado.
Yep, Palmancini.
And
That's
that was the first time I put on a snowboard. I'm a skier. I will say I'm a skier. But there was something about being in shorts on a sunny day at a basin, they didn't even they didn't have the hats. They had none of that back then. I think this was like 1990.
Yep.
Yeah, 1990. And there was a little half pipe. I hit my face plant so many times on the first few times of snowboarding. And then the flow came and it felt like water.
Yeah.
It does feel like water.
That's right.
How long have you been snowboarding and what kind of freedom does that give your heart?
I'm 42 years old. I've been snowboarding since I was 13.
Nice.
And the freedom that it gives my heart.
You do not look 42, by the way.
Thank you. I was actually telling a friend, that same run I was telling you about pre-live on the air where I was doing these big, long, fast, drawn-out carves. I actually caught myself in the middle of the run playing with my mustache with my tongue. And so the reason I'm sharing that with you is I was so comfortable going 40 miles an hour in flow with my music that I caught myself doing something that was like I was sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
It's something just so magically beautiful for me that surfing and snowboarding for me are the closest thing that I can come to what I've heard enlightenment is, meaning no thought, right?
Yeah.
So a quiet mind is the purest mind.
Yes.
And when I'm surfing and when I'm snowboarding, there's no thought going on in my head. So I'm completely 100% free. When I'm free from work, that's one thing. When I'm free from thought, I'm free.
Yes.
Thoughts eat us alive. And so that's why I love snowboarding and surfing so much.
That is beautiful. Ashley, do you snowboard?
So I'm actually missing a tooth on this side from my first time snowboarding.
Is that right?
Yep.
No way.
It's probably, I don't want
Face
to
plant?
say 15. No, how old am I? Jeez, I lose track of time. It's been a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
But the boys, ride our snowboards, and I still do a little bit, but I feel like old.
Okay, I got it.
Like wobbly.
So we're gonna do
We're
a
going on a
segment.
snowboarding trip.
I'm
Awesome.
skiing, he's snowboarding, and
I'm
she
just
may
gonna
be
get
in
those,
ski school. I don't know.
those like underwear that you put on like Spanx, but they got the really padded butts
Yeah.
on them
Yep.
to make your butt look bigger. I'm gonna get those just so I can go snowboarding.
Actually, if you don't get
Impact
those,
shorts, I think they call them.
you have more incentive not to fall, right?
Right. You got it.
Okay, so we're going back into the questions.
Right.
I want you to think again. This is probably going to be your morning routine, but what is that thing you do that turns you on in the morning, gets you ready for your day? We did touch base on it, but where do you put is there specific music? Where do you put your brain to say, okay, I'm ready to take on 12 hours today?
It's really a combination. My morning routine, I'll just share my morning routine with you because it's really a total sum. I mean, the breath work is by far the mind clearing, right? Because I don't know how you guys are. I'm sure we're similar this way. I can do some of my best and most damaging work laying in bed at night before I fall asleep, right? I mean, it's those I have thought myself into a sweat before in fear and those types of things. So that also then lends itself to how you feel when you wake up in the morning. And if I'm really going to get done what I have to get done in a day, and my day consists of 25 different hats.
Yeah.
And so for me is I really have to get a clear mind, but I start by hydrating, and then I do my meditation. Then I make my cup of coffee. I type my morning email to the brokerage. That right now probably is the thing that turns me on the most. It's very therapeutic for me to type that message to the brokerage every morning. And then I write my gratitude journal. I read my goals. I stretch for 10 minutes.
And you
I feel like I'm missing something.
You didn't always do that though.
I always did most of the components not in a morning routine.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I started for example, you'll hear me ask where are you finding time to find some of this kind of work-life balance? You didn't say it that way, but for the more important things in your life. And it would be things like I need to stretch more. I'm starting to get lower back pain in my 40s, And it was where is an opportunity in my day where I can do that? Oh, well, I watch an hour of TV a day. So why don't I stretch while I watch TV? So that became stretching time. So then it was an hour of TV. Wow, that's 7 hours a day. Now I'm going to trim that down to 3 hours of TiVo or DVR TV options,
movies,
and now I don't watch TV at all.
Yep.
So it's kind of this just constant refinement of where to find time so that I can narrow it down to finding time to do the things that serve me. So right now I would say it was meditation when I didn't have a regular morning routine.
Yeah.
Today it's my morning email. At times it's been stretching. That's where I get the blood flow.
Yeah.
I get my body working for me because it really is the mind and the body that really allow us the opportunity to be our best. It's not one without the other. So, yeah, it's kind of the flow.
You're a giver and you want your message to be clear, and everything you're explaining is what I would say ascension. You're ascending into that vision that you saw for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Right now, real time, I said to my business partner the other day, she's like, you're hard to be around. You're you're an animal, and not a lot of people get the Brian that I get, which is a feisty, sometimes combative debater, in a room. And I've been a little more intense lately than I have been as we've been in partnership. And I had a self-realization, and I said to her, I want you to know I've realized that right now I am going through a metamorphosis and ascension. And it's kind of like the Hulk turning into the Hulk, from Bruce Banner into the Hulk. You kind of get me in this, my eyes and my, I'm ripping out of my clothes.
Yep.
Except for I'm going the other way, right?
Yeah.
I'm going from the Hulk to Bruce Banner, shedding the ego and, shedding the bravado, what little bravado I think I had, shedding the righteousness, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And so I'm in that space. So that ascension ring, it really feels good that you say that right now. Not necessarily from you're on this climb, but more from a personal ascension, a personal complete kind of turn myself inside out metamorphosis right now, which I'm super excited about, but it's intense to change yourself.
You can feel the intensity just sitting next to you.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I like to take the Hulk, and in the beginning it was just Hulk smash, but by the time we got to the Avengers 4 movie, he was so cool.
Sweet.
He can be a Hulk.
He's funny.
Yeah, exactly. So he just had to work through a few things as well. So I get it, man. Stay hulky.
I'm getting there.
Stay hulky. I like
Stay
that.
hulky.
I like it. Yeah.
So my favorite question.
Yeah.
What is your favorite curse word? We will bleep it out for the boys.
Yeah, it's for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Whose isn't actually at this
I
point?
think at this point, I think everybody likes.
And it's all the versions.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is.
Yeah.
Right, all the
it's
versions.
past,
Here's another one.
The past, the present, the descriptive, the
active.
it's a noun, adjective, verb. I
Right?
mean, it's all of them.
Can you
man.
When
for
I was
anything.
in high school in the 80s, there was a sheet of paper that came around. I'm going to try to find it, but it was in its many uses, and it was 2 pages.
Yeah.
So we are going to create. That's going to be episode 36 coming up soon. We'll invite you back for
I
that
love
one.
it. Let's go.
Do you know
Please
where
do.
the origin of came from?
No.
Fornication under the consent of the king. So they would put that on the door that you could have premarital sex and you would put the sign on, and it meant that the king gave you consent to do
way.
it. That's what I Googled it.
So the king has
Interesting
given us
stuff.
consent to use that word whenever we want.
There it is. Bingo.
I love
Let's
it.
roll. Yeah, if it's your thing, it's your thing. It's not everyone's thing.
No,
I'm
it's
mindful
mine.
of whose thing it's not, by the way, and I won't use it if they don't like me to. So
I hear you. I try to be good around the kids. It doesn't always work.
No.
That way.
no, I know.
I almost went broke with the curse jar.
Oh, I took mine away. Yeah,
I was
kept
like,
putting-
no, we're done.
I was putting
Sorry.
$20 bills at a time in there, saying
I'll tell you
this is at a time.
what I would do with the curse jar if I went broke is then I would just teach them how to reinvest it.
Oh,
right.
And then you're
There you
winning as a
go.
parent.
Of course,
you know what I
Brian
mean?
North
Yeah,
is going
that's
to
right.
teach his
Yeah.
children how to reinvest
That's
with the swear jar.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, again, think of a really personal space. Put
Okay.
yourself in your
Yeah.
head for a moment. What is your favorite noise or sound?
Favorite noise or sound? It's easily crashing waves.
Oh, yeah.
That's an easy one for me. That it invokes a feeling, an instant feeling, and it's one of those things. It's like a song from when you're younger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you hear the song and you can go like warp speed to who you were with, what you were doing, what time of day, and you're like, wow, how can I go right to that like bookmark in my brain of it invoking some emotion? And sound of crashing waves does that for me.
Water
Instantly.
is, as you know, so full of energy. And I read an article somewhere that said regular visits or listening to waves balances your internal autonomic system because of your heart hears it, your mind hears it, your flow hears it, and it's a recharge. So when
Yeah,
you're
I it's my first request of Alexa every night before I fall asleep. Yeah. Alexa, play Breaking Waves. So,
do you listen to waves, Ashley? In the
I
evening?
do actually, but not through Alexa,
Yep.
just Spotify. I'll
Yep.
turn it on and I do like I don't know what the station is, but on Spotify, if you just type in wave sounds, it's on there.
Next time, try crackling fire, an outdoor
that's a good one, too.
fireplace. My
Okay.
son is autistic and he loves it. So
Yeah.
I just put it on.
That's
So.
a good one.
Again, personal space.
Yep.
What noise or sound do you hate or dislike very much?
Complaining.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a common answer.
Yeah, is it really?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Whining, complaining, Debbie Downers.
Yeah, it's just complaining. There's just no space for it in my life. There's zero value in complaining. And I only have time for people in my life who add value.
Yeah.
So if you're complaining, you're out.
I think that goes along with, again, you have a vision.
Yep.
You've taken a long time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to build that. And now I'm saying no to these projects, and I definitely am saying no to complaining.
Yeah.
I don't have time for it.
No upside.
Yeah.
There's just no, tell me the value of a complaint.
Yeah.
The person complaining will say, I got to express. Right? You're like, awesome, go do it somewhere else.
Right-
I don't
write
have
it in your
time for
journal.
it. You know what I mean? So,
Facebook's
yeah.
for that. No.
Yeah.
So we're down to just a last few minutes
Okay.
of our interview. So I'm going to cut a couple of the questions out and get to one that I'm dying to know
Okay.
about you. If you could have dinner with a celebrity, famous person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
The Dalai Lama was my answer for a really long time. And I think I would still be a nice rival, but I just finished the book, The Power of Now, by ECKHART Tolle for the third time on Audible, and it's profoundly changed my life. And I think right now I would pick ECKHART Tolle.
Wow.
Interesting.
Where would you take him?
I would take him in a park, probably. Honestly,
Picnic?
Nah, I think it would just be like a park bench.
Yeah.
So much of the teaching of The Power of Now is being present in the present moment and enjoying the existence of everything in that present moment. Identifying why a flower is the way a flower is, or why a bird is the way a bird is, without birds and flowers don't judge, right? There is no judgment; they just be.
Yes.
And so to sit in a park and see children play, or watch parents interact with their children, or watch grass grow with ECKHART Tolle, and have him teach me all the things that he sees through his lens. I would take that right now.
I love that.
Yeah.
I would still suggest breaking bread with that human element
Yeah,
with him.
yeah.
Maybe throw it to the birds,
Yeah.
but that is a beautiful
I like
picture.
it. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Ashley, have you read that particular
I
one?
have, and it's been a really long time. And now that I'm thinking about it, but I have the paperback. There's
Yeah.
something about physically
Yes.
having a book in your hand and
Can I
reading
borrow
it.
I need to read it.
It's funny you say that because I went to go get my books and I moved and they're all in storage. So I got to take a trip back to the storage. But
I too am a tangible book person.
Yes.
I would highly recommend you don't read The Power of Now and that you listen
to
The
it?
Power
Listen
of Now.
to it.
It's so intense that it's one of those things that the extra step of reading comprehension versus just being able to pour it into your ears, because it's
All right.
what you're trying to do when you read it. What anybody that's really wants to get on by this book is doing while they're reading is you're trying to apply it to your real life so you can understand it. So that part of reading it and then finding some way to apply the wisdom so that you can have comprehension. If you can strip away the reading of it, my comprehension went way up. I tried to read it the first time and I struggled. Even though I wanted to study it, I struggled. And when I went Audible, it changed the way that I heard
So it's
the
a
book.
little bit of a Da Vinci Code, and you want to kind of listen to it several times to pick up those nuggets and be able to.
So much so that as I listened to it, my mind would drift into application and I wouldn't hear the next however long I was in application mode, and I would just rewind and listen to it over.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't about finishing the book. It was about applying it to my life. It's, to me, it answers, talk about EQ.
Yeah.
It answers, to me, virtually all of the questions that would help a person get out of pain.
Okay, so that's with like every new agent out there, anyone wanting to get into any type of business.
Yep.
It's a book I'm going to read next.
it's really
If-
good.
if-
I'm
forget-
going to download it now.
And forget
Yeah.
real estate and business. If you find yourself operating from a place of pain, right, which we all do.
Yes.
Man, this sucks today. This sucks. This really
Yes.
sucks. That sucks. This is bad. And this is all that stuff. The premise of the book is that all pain exists in past and future. It doesn't exist in the present moment.
Yeah.
So think about your thoughts. When you are bummed out about something, you are not in the present moment. So if you can apply the wisdom to get to the present moment, you'll find yourself out of pain. So, and that for me, if we're out of pain, then we have less thoughts. If we have less thoughts, we're free. And if we're free and loving ourselves, we can be our best for everybody.
Well, this is Kimberly Toko Tenacious T.
Brian North with North&Co. And if anybody does want to reach out to me, I'm going to do this my not so traditional way, which is Brian C. North on Instagram.
Nice.
Ooh, I like it. Ashley Miller with Great American Title, and I'll do the Instagram thing too. Ashley Miller AZ.
And you know where to find me, that Bitchin' Real Estate Show on iTunes. Thank you. Out.
If you need me to change, then I'm gone. I've been on the fence for too long. I'ma do me. You could try to talk like I am not living my best life. If you want me to change, then I'm gone. I've been on the fence for too long. I'ma do me. You could try to talk like I am not living my best life. Rolling on the interstate, 95, give or take. Live without a risk, I take my mistake. Dying on the inside, pain so real. You can see it when you look me in the eyes. I'ma do me, and that's the truth. If the pain